Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to all our West Australian football fans to another big edition of Around the WAFL, your go-to WAFL podcast in season 2024. We're on the countdown to round 3. All the big games on Saturday and, of course, one on Sunday. And a big weekend of football that is going to be a lot of important matchups in round 3 of WAFL 2024. We're going to preview them all for you today here on your go-to WAFL podcast. You can catch us on your respective podcast provider and on YouTube as well. Paul Persick with you in the studio. And alongside me, once again, the one and only Ethan Roth. Ethan, what a round. This one's going to be a lot of big matchups at this early stage in the season.
Not long to go now, Paul. So, bring it on and set for a massive weekend of footy.
Certainly is, no doubt about that. And, of course, here is how you can win big at the WAFL in 2024.
Punt from 50, win. Little too into the game? Win. Too cocky? Almost a win. Risking it all for the glory? Win. It's win-win at the WAFL. Great footy, food and entertainment. Find out more at waffle.com.au.
Oh, it's off the charts. Win-win WAFL. And, of course, we'll tell you a little bit later where WAFL Wonderland is going to be this weekend as well. But first, our special guest for today, he is an all-star at the West Perth Football Club. 1 premierships, 1 best and fairest. His resume is absolutely magnificent. That's how you can sum it up. He is the West Perth superstar veteran of the red and blue. He wears the number 1, and he is number 1 this season so far. He is Aaron Black, and he's good enough to join us here on Around the WAFL. Aaron, how are you, mate?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Ethan. Thanks for having me, lads. Not too bad.
That's good. Great to have you here on the show. Massive game coming up against Subiaco. It's often been one of the tougher sides for West Perth in recent times.
Yeah, I think they've been one of the toughest sides for a lot of the teams in the WAFL for the last few years. So we're looking forward to it being a pretty tight matchup. They were pretty good on the weekend against Peel as well.
And 2 wins from 2 starts in 2024, both under lights. How have you found the transition of the new coach, Jason Salicic? Obviously started off with a bang.
Yeah, mate, it's been pretty smooth. Jason's obviously done a fair bit of work with the playing group the last few years as both an assistant and as a player. So I think that transition was always going to be pretty smooth and comfortable. He's come in and added, a little bit of his own flair in how he wants to move the footy, but a lot of the off-field stuff and the way he coaches is similar, and we've kind of experienced that already.
What about how West Perth have played in the first couple of rounds? They've been a lot more of an aggressive side, and when I say that, of course, their pressure towards the football and also their avenues to goal as well. The first 2 rounds, we're getting a good indication of what this side could be in 2024. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's part of the flair that Jason's brought on. With how we wanted to move the footy, we wanted to move it a little bit quicker. I think we've always tried to be a defense first, pressure on the ball carrier type side, and I guess in the first 2 rounds that's been a massive focus. But I think we've executed that really well. We're bound to put other sides under pressure. We know how Claremont want to play, and we think Perth are pretty similar in the way they want to slingshot off half that. So I guess our week-to-week strategy or structures were pretty similar in both of those games.
And I've been really impressed with the young brigade coming through. You look at Jasper Skay, 4 goals, Kane Bevan, 2 goals out of the midfield. That must be pleasing, this next generation coming through to complement the older guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a lot of last year's sort of graduating Colts crop. There's, 7 or 8 of them. A few of them are playing reserves footy at the moment. There's 3 or 4 of them who are playing in the senior side in the first 2 weeks. They're a really impressive crop of players that have come through, and they're going to hold our footy club in good stead for a long period of time. And Scapey and Bevo are just the ones who are sort of standing out at the moment. But there's Jack DeMarty and Griff Julian, who also played the first 2 rounds, has been very impressive as well.
That young crop has really stood out, no doubt about it, in 2024, especially, Jasper Skay, 4 goals against the Demons in that forward line, took 9 marks as well. His development has really been impressive so far.
Yeah, mate, he's a terrific young kid. He's a hard worker. He's probably pretty hard on himself, but, there's been a lot of talk about his goal kicking, and he puts a power of work into making sure that that's top notch. And I think it's just a bit of a reward for that work that he's put in. It's good to see when kids put in the hard work and they finally get the reward, but then it shows during games. So sometimes it doesn't always translate straight away, but for him it has, and it's really positive to see.
And a vital game against the Lions, as we said, this weekend. Obviously, you have to stop the whole midfield as they bat so deep in there, but one name you definitely have to stop is Greg Clark. Yeah,
mate, obviously he's a very very talented footballer. He's coming to Subi and he had a really impressive start. He's captain of the club now as well. So I guess we'll put some work into him, but I back in our midfield group. Brocky Carter has been given us first hands. He gave us first hands on the weekend, and hopefully he can do that again to our mid, which is not always something that we've been dominant in, is getting first hands on the footy. We've normally had to be pretty reactive to opposition ruckmen. So if we can get first hands and we can break some lines out of the centre circle, then I think that's going to go a long way to us curbing Greg's influence.
And finally, Aaron, before I let you go, mate, of course, you've been around the WAFL scene for as long as anyone can remember, as long as even I can remember. Your desire to keep on playing at the top level, it just never wanes, doesn't it? Your passion for your team and passionate for the game you play, WAFL football at the highest level. You've obviously gone out to the 250 game mark. What about 300?
Yeah, passion or stupidity, mate, I don't know. No, I love it. I said at my 250th testimonial last year that if I'm still enjoying it and I still go to training and feel like a 14-year-old kid and muck around and I guess commentate my pre-training kicking goals and stuff like that. So it's still really fun, and I think that's the best part. Like, I haven't lost that was playing footy. Look, that's always in the back of my mind. I'm still a few years away from potentially reaching that mark. I think the goal now is, obviously with my adjustment to playing a bit more forward of centre, if I can still add value to the playing group, with performance, but also, in the leadership part, and the coaches see value in what I'm doing, and I'm not potentially taking up a spot just for the sake of it, then I'm going to keep playing. And I think I'm doing that at the moment. I think the coaches are really pleased with how I'm playing forward of the ball, and it's just a positive, adding another layer to the positions and how I play.
We love your passion for the cause, mate. Great work as always, Aaron Black, last weekend against the Demons, and we look forward to a big game for the Falcons against Subiaco at Leederville on Saturday. Thanks for your time, Aaron. We really appreciate it. All the best.
Cheers, Blackie.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
That was Aaron Black, superstar of the West Perth Football Club, joining us here on Around the WAFL. And you know what? I'll say it. I'd love to see him reach 300.
Oh, you would. It's a rare feat, isn't it? Particularly in WAFL footy. It's pretty much unheard of in the modern times.
These days, yeah, it's very, very hard. Some, would often get like to 100 or 150 games before either they call it a day or get drafted to the AFL, wherever that may be. But Aaron Black, his passion for the cause and his leadership is just incredible. And of course, him stepping down as co-captain last year, gives him a little bit of that more freedom to play his natural game, although he is still pretty much a natural-born leader.
Absolutely, and drifting forward a bit as well, hitting the scoreboard. So, as you said, it frees him up a little bit more and he can focus on himself.
Big game it certainly is going to be for him and West Perth against Subiaco on Saturday. And speaking of big, this is big as well.
Get to WAFL Wonderland in Lathlane from 3:30 Saturday. Watch Perth take on Swans. It's WAFL footy with a wonderland of food trucks, giveaways, DJ and kids activities. Tickets at waffle.com.au.
How about that, Aaron? WAFL Wonderland heading to Mineral Resources Park for another nighttime extravaganza. The concept, again, is absolutely marvellous.
And it's good to see the community get around it as well. Plenty on for the kids, the whole family. So, it doesn't... It's for everyone, really.
Even if you got the DJ smoke and the strobe lights all around the ground, it is just terrific. That's one thing I certainly love, I will admit. A bit of the cloud smoke being puffed out of the DJ system and the strobe lights all around the ground. It's like you're either at a UFC event or maybe a concert or something, and you've got a football match on there. It's something for everyone.
It is. It truly is.
Let's go now to all the big games in round 3. And this one's a crunch game, more so for Peel Thunder. They take on East Perth at Lane Group Stadium in Mandurah, Saturday afternoon at 1:40. Very, very important game for the Thunder against a high-quality East Perth. The Royals looking to go 3-0.
It's a crunch game, tough game to predict, I think, as well. I think this could potentially go either way. So, they're always tough to tip, but this one seems even more so.
Yeah, especially now at Lane Group Stadium. East Perth had a couple of tough ones over at Lane Group Stadium, although they did have a good win in round 15 last year over there at Lane Group Stadium by the tune of some 6 goals. But it's going to be a battle of those in and under midfielders. You know, you talk about the likes of Reedy, of course. He was sensational in the loss to Subiaco, had those 49 hitouts. You also have Brady Gray, Heath Chapman in there as well, Will Brodie, who provided some big spark. And you've also got, of course, Brayshaw, Schumacher, Crowden and co. Absolutely incredible. That's going to be where the battle will be won.
Looking forward to the Brayshaw versus Erasmus a matchup, so that'll be huge.
Well, of course, Erasmus missed the game against Subiaco. He's staying back in Adelaide of course, for the Dockers to play Port Adelaide. So a question of whether he'll be listed in the Dockers side or, of course, will he be going back to play with Peel Thunder. If he does go back to play Peel Thunder, that's going to be a massive boost because the Thunder midfield really missed him on Sunday.
They'll be hoping for their sake he doesn't get a game for Fremantle, so they'll want to utilise him.
Yeah, they certainly will. But, of course, you have Nathan Wilson in there, struggled for goals on Sunday. And you also have Cooper Simpson, Jack Sears and Corey Tregenza as those avenues to go up forward. For East Perth, not just their midfield, but, of course, you've got to be counting on Thomas Medhat and Liam Tedesco. I mean, we didn't mention him on Wednesday, but Liam Tedesco, 4 goals from 13 touches. He's one that flew under the radar over the weekend.
They've got a lot of guys who are bulked up, you know, mid-sports.
Big units.
Amaduri, Tedesco, not huge by, height-wise, but they're certainly fierce and give defenders plenty to think about.
They certainly do. The back lines are really going to have a big test against, both sides that have potent forward lines. So it's going to be a tough test for the back lines in that game. It's going to be a beauty over there at Lane Group Stadium at 1:40 on Saturday. Who's your pick?
I'm backing in the Royals to win 3 on the trot.
Yep, Royals for me as well. They'll go 3 on the trot, but it's often tougher over there to win at Lane Group Stadium, so it'll be only a couple of goals in it. But Peel Thunder will make a good go of it, but the class for the Royals, that's what substantiates or separates East Perth from the others at the moment. They just got a little bit more class at both ends of the ground. So the Royals to go 3-0 to start the season against Peel Thunder. What a game that one's going to be. Okay, we go to the next game on Saturday afternoon. This is a big one. And, of course, you can see it live on Channel 7 as well, this one. South Fremantle taking on Claremont at Fremantle Oval. Will the Tigers come out a better side? I expect them to after that ordinary performance against the Sharks.
You'd hope so. You'd expect them to be absolutely fired up. It could be dangerous for South Fremantle. We've seen in all levels of footy how a side can get beaten and then next week they just come out all guns blazing. So from Claremont's point of view, they'll be hoping that's the case.
They certainly will need some good presence in the back line as well. Davies and Martinez saw a lot of the football, and you also have the likes of Howard, who's bolstering that young quartet of Tigers new guns in there. But who's filling that void that Tia Miles left? They're still missing a player of his calibre down back. Even when you've got experience of Declan Hardesty, he struggled a bit as well. So that's going to be a big question mark on Claremont's part.
Yeah, I think they defend more, to be honest. It's an obvious statement, but that run of half back, I know Tia Miles offered that, but defence first, then offence. So, if they lose this one, 0-3, history suggests you don't go far.
No, you don't go far often if you go 0-3. But South Fremantle, their record at home, very, very suspect over the last 12 months. They struggled to put away the opposition in home games. But against the Claremont side who are looking to make a stand, South Freo will look to do likewise with the lineup that they've got. You've got Strom in there in that forward line, Florenka, Bletchenden, always firing in midfield. And you've also got the experience of Hayden Schloith, which will be pivotal this season. And, of course, in particular, this game. Yeah,
they need to make South Freo a fortress, don't they? They'll be sky high, full of confidence, albeit against an Eagles team last week. So, I like Chase Bourne. I think we mentioned him a couple of episodes ago.
Bourne,
he offers some real tricks. I know they dropped Connor McDonald, so that's I guess shows the strength of their team at the moment. Connor might not be in the best form, but they recruited him, and there's some real assets there. So whether he comes back, I'm not too sure straight away, but they've got plenty of options in that forward line.
But they do need Brendan Donaldson to fire. He only had the 1 goal, only had the 10 disposals. he's going to have a big performance if he's selected in that side. He's got to have a big performance against Claremont because that Tigers backline will look to put him to the test.
Your tip for the Bernie Naylor, wasn't he?
Yes, my tip for the Bernie Naylor, and my golly, if I get it wrong, I'm not going to hear the end of it. But anyway, Branchy in the ruck's going to be a key. He's going to have a big test in that ruck duel with Oliver Eastland, who at the moment is the premier ruckman for Claremont.
Yeah, Claremont have to take advantage of that. They simply must. Young, inexperienced ruckman like Branchy, he'll obviously try his best, but you'd expect the hit-outs to go the way of Eastland for sure.
Who wins?
I think Claremont.
Claremont have to.
They have to win. I think they're going to get the first win on the board, and we'll make a response.
If they don't win this one, if they don't win this game against South Fremantle, surely more questions have to be asked of the club in the week after that. You know, if they don't put away South Fremantle, they've got to win, and they've got to win emphatically. If they don't win, if they win a close one, okay, you get the 4 points. But if you win emphatically, that'll surely erase the seeds of doubt of the Tigers for this season.
It's the way you win. I think the pressure will be through the roof on Ash Prescott if they don't win this one.
Huge game it certainly is going to be for the Tigers and the Bulldogs on Saturday at Fremantle Oval. And this one also, we use the cliche a lot, big games. But this one is game of the round, no doubt about it. Subiaco, West Perth, Sullivan Logistics Stadium in Leederville at 2:10. It is midfield versus midfield, forward line versus forward line. Those two key areas for both sides is what's going to be the huge difference, and both of them are stacked.
Yeah, and you hear Aaron Black speak about them focusing on themselves. That's an interesting point. Obviously, they'll put time into Clark and that dynamic midfield. But, game of the round is not a bad shout.
Absolutely, especially when you've got depth aplenty for both these sides. Up forward, in the midfield, down back. It's good. It's going to be about who's the more desperate out of the two sides. Who's the more desperate, who's got the greater desire, and who's a lot more hungry for the contest. Because, you've got ideal conditions ahead, two great sides going at it, and it's going to be a battle of those superstars. You talk about the two number ones, Greg Clark and Aaron Black, the two respective number ones, inside midfielders. Although Aaron Black is tending to play a lot more of his time up forward, if he goes back up the ground in midfield, that's going to be a spark that Subiaco could be caught unawares by.
He's a handy player. You can just bring into midfield if you
bring
need
him anywhere
on the field. Yeah, this is going to be a beautiful game. One name we didn't mention on Wednesday is Richie Bartlett on debut. He looked a real player. He's had to buy his time in the reserves a lot more than most in recent years, but he didn't look overawed by the occasion against Peel, kicking 2 goals.
He's not out of place in that Subiaco forward line. He is not out of place in that league side. I mean, when you complement the work of Sokol and Mayo in there as well, they kicked 3 goals each last Sunday against Peel Thunder. He doesn't look out of place in complementing those two, especially when you've got, good run and carry inside 50. He's got good marking prowess as well, and when he gathers the football, he's often hard to chase down. He's got great turner speed.
Absolutely, and sort of not a lot of touches, but high impact. So, whenever he does touch the ball, it's going to deliver in spades. And
he certainly did that. So the Falcons back line, we'll have to count on him a little bit. If they keep Sokol and Mayo to task and they don't keep an eye on Bartlett, then West Perth's backline could be in a lot of trouble.
They could be, yeah. Your luck to Pegararo, and those guys need to be switched on. So, this is going to be an absolute belter.
West Perth, their key as well will be the likes of Nelson. You also talk about Sasha Kernan in there as well. In that forward line, Jasper Scaife, who kicked 4 goals last week. Nelson, Black, Skuria as well. He had 25 disposals in the win over Perth. Zach Waddington down back and a little bit more on the wings as well. They'll need a lot of the football and provide very a sufficient service to that forward half. Tough one to pick this one, Ethan. Who wins?
I think West Perth get the job done. I know it's away from home. I was actually thinking of Subiaco before, but I think just thinking about it, I'm worried about Subiaco's defence with Scaife and Keitel, Kerner, the likes. I think Subiaco's weakness probably is their defence. I know Lockyer came back into the side.
Even with Drew Rowe, their experience, you think that won't be enough?
I think it's just the tall timber, to be honest.
He could be right. That's a very good point, mate. West Perth got a lot more tall timber in that respective 50. Subiaco going more with that small ball lineup, so to speak, for this game against West Perth. And you know what? That actually could be a major benefit for Subiaco. Even if they go with a tall timber, their endurance as well. Endurance down back is going to be a huge key. I'm going with the Lions, but only just because of that.
I can't see it being more than 3 goals in this game either way.
It has to be way less. It's going to be a very, very tight contest, and what a ripper it is going to be. Definitely match of the round. What about this one? Game 4, under lights. Perth Swan Districts both have stacked recruits from interstate, both 1-1, both sides looking for massive room of improvement. This one also could be a game that's decided by the midfield and also how good both sides' forward setup can be.
Both 1-1 as it stands, so the consequences are huge. Demons must improve at goal. I think they have to improve with their efficiency, and Swans, their second half, particularly last quarter, is a bit of a concern there. So can Perth expose them?
But also their third as well. You know, they kicked 6 straight behinds in that third quarter. So it's going to be all about which side settles in that second half the most. Perth, they looked unsettled. They were kicking inaccurately. Swan Districts, who like Perth, were able to pepper the 50, but they weren't accurate in front of goal. They paid the price, both teams, for their inaccuracy in front of goal. That forward 50 is really going to have a big test, both for both sides for that matter.
It will, and forward line setup is critical for both sides as well. Aaron Clark, the lone hand inside 50. Swans need to stop him. He's kicked 3 goals in his first 2 games of WAFL footy, so you don't want that to be the case again if you're a Swans supporter.
But he hasn't had that suitable backup, has Aaron Clark, inside that forward 50. I mean, you have Sam Simpson, another interstate recruiter. He kicked 2 goals, but that was as good as it got for as far as the scoreboard pressure that Perth could muster against West Perth last week. That's an area that they've got to improve on. They find more avenues to goal. That's where they can ramp it up against a side like Swan Districts, who have scored pretty well over the last couple of games.
It's interesting. They need another key forward, and they'll be crying out for someone like a Quartermain who kicked 8 goals in the reserves on last weekend.
If they select him, then that's going to be a huge bonus for the Demons. If they select him back into the league side after that performance in reserves last week, in that game in the reserves against West Perth, then that's going to provide a massive boost to their depth inside the 50, because that's a major issue for them at the moment.
I can't see how they would overlook him if he's fit and available.
Yeah,
surely you'd have to
I
pick
can't
him.
see that.
8 goals.
If they overlook him, then that'd be a stupid move, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm being pretty blunt here, because Quartermain has been for a while one of their more prolific forwards, and if you don't select him in the league, it's against a side that's got a very good backline but a bit under the radar, led by one Jarvis Pina, who again had a great performance at half back, gathering 20 plus disposals. If you don't select Quartermain to counteract that, then that's going to be a problem.
And Jake Persini as well, key defender, so who's plied his trade. So they have to pick him realistically.
Depth is also going to be tested for the Swans as well up forward. They haven't got a major, apart from Lee Coleman, not a lot of goal-kicking mids as well, you know, to complement the work of the forward line. They need a few more goal-kicking mids, so do Perth. Who's going to find that? What side is going to find that goal-kicking mid at the most crucial time in the game? That's going to be a really big talking point over there at Lathlane. It
will. I think you mentioned Sam Simpson. You have confidence he's going to hit the scoreboard in one way or the other. He just looks... his endurance, he's obviously played in the AFL Grand Final, so he's obviously bringing over his experience. But I think Perth, Swans, they both need to find those goal kickers, not just to do the work in the midfield, even though it is the heavy lifting.
Perth at home, obviously, they won against Subiaco in round 1. Perth need to bring something more over there at Mineral Resources Park. Obviously, they brought the emotion, brought the self-belief in round 1. They need to bring a lot more than that on Saturday. With that in mind, Ethan, who's your pick for a winner?
I think Perth will make a formidable thrust of it at home.
Tough one to pick for me. It's going to be a real test of this game to determine which of these sides, where these sides are at so far in 2024. But I'm going to say the Demons, but only by a goal. I reckon it's going to be incredibly tight. Both sides will be in it throughout. It'll go either way, but Perth, I reckon, by a goal.
Remember that game last year, Jared Cameron, these two sides. So there's a bit of history on the line.
There certainly is. Yeah, a couple of close tussles between these two sides, including, of course, Jared Cameron with that goal after the siren. It is going to be an absolute beauty. Perth and Swan Districts under the lights of Lathlane. And we remain at Lathlane for the final game of round 3. It's on a Sunday. It's a morning match. West Coast taking on East Fremantle at 10 o'clock on Sunday. I think the talking point here would be how much East Fremantle, especially when you've got West Coast that got smashed by the Bulldogs. East Fremantle handed out a smashing of their own to Claremont. There's no way East Fremantle are going to lose this game. I'm being blunt from the outset. How can East Fremantle lose this game?
There's a slim chance, isn't there? And if you think they beat Claremont by 90 points, then it's danger signs for the Eagles. Another question, how many will Marsh kick? If he's kicked 70 against Claremont, he's going to be let off the chain.
10.
I mean, who goes to him? That's the question.
He'll kick 10. I'm saying it right now. Marsh will kick 10.
Okay.
He's got to kick a big bag up after what we saw against Claremont. There is no way that Jono Marsh is not going to duplicate that. He's got to kick 10.
There's no way. There's more chance of him kicking double figures and 0 goals. Put it that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. He was off the leash from the outset. Billy Monahan gave him that go up forward and unleash. And that's exactly what John O'Marsh did. But that aside for the moment, obviously a couple of the Eagles players are going to be under the spotlight. A lot of the experienced guys who, truth be told, they're getting towards their last year or two of their career. They're not going to provide any keys as far as their elevation is concerned back into the AFL side. Gaff, Sheed, and also Jay Cully as well. They're going to have a difficult road. But also, the younger guys as well, I reckon they need to be under the spotlight a little bit more. Zane True, Clay Hall, Harley Sparks, who saw a lot of the football for the Eagles last Saturday in that loss to South Fremantle, they're going to have to really play their best football against the reigning premiers.
They will. They're going to have to be at their absolute best and more. Yeah, is this a percentage opportunity for East Fremantle after they obviously, they were game behind with the -4, so they'll be looking to make this up, and it's a perfect opportunity if I'm being honest.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. I mean, and a perfect tune-up for a couple of the other big games as well. Look ahead to round 5. Of course, most of the clubs have the bye in round 4 with only 2 games played. So a big win here for East Fremantle against the Eagles would be absolutely perfect heading into the round 5 game.
And a standalone game on Sunday as well, so hopefully some people can get to the game. I know it's on Channel 7.
It's on the AFL app.
AFL app, sorry. Yes, standalone game, so hopefully people can attend that one.
What about Lennon Marlin? I reckon he's going to be a player to watch out for on half-back for East Fremantle. He was very efficient with his run and carry through half-back, also kicked a great goal on the run from half-forward. He is one that has high impact every time he gets the ball. Yeah,
and the West Coast Eagles know him very well, so hopefully they can stop him because if any team knows him, it's his former club. So,
absolutely.
He had some dash off half-back and strength to strength from Lennon Marlin. He's been a revelation, let's be honest.
He certainly has been. Obviously coming from the Eagles over to East Fremantle, he's been able to play with a side that has continuity, consistency, and he's been consistent in his own right. He's seen a lot of the football, but he's able to play all kinds of different roles when he's in the best 22. Obviously playing a vital role down back, repelling the attack from the opposition, but also when you get him up to midfield and you take the game through the corridor, Marlin is that prime figure to get it rolling for East Fremantle.
Yeah, absolutely. What more can you say really on Lennon Marlin? They've obviously, very happy to have him back at the club, the Sharks. So he's put a lot of time into him. So it seems to be paying off in the early parts of the season.
I don't think we need to give out our tip because I think we already know who's going to win.
Yeah, Sharks convincingly.
Sharks convincingly by about 100 points. I mean, it'll be 100 points all the way to the Sharks, and they'll get back onto the positive point scale. They'll get back up to 4 points and really get their campaign started.
Yep, back to back. We know how hard it is, but this is where they can really elevate themselves and not start that campaign off, but use it as a platform for bigger and better things.
Yep, they'll get the ball rolling over there on Sunday at Mineral Resources Park against the West Coast Eagles. All games are live, free, and in full on the AFL app. And if you're heading to the ground in person, this is how you can win big.
Punt from 50, win. Little too into the game, win. Too cocky, almost a win. Risking it all for the glory, win. It's win-win at the WAFL. Great footy, food and entertainment. Find out more at waffle.com.au.
Oh yeah, those big wins in the WAFL, Ethan, prove worthwhile no matter what ground you are at. I tell you, round 3 is going to be an absolute beauty. There's about 3 of those games this round, or for all 4 of them, with the exception of the Sunday game, all 4 of them can open up the competition even more.
Yep, I think we're going to find out a bit or two about of those games. And it seems like every week we're just saying game of the round for each game. So.
I'll put you on the hot seat. Out of those 4 games, which one would you think you'd be at the most? Out of the 4 games that are on Saturday?
I'd say Subiaco West Perth.
I'd say the same as well. I mean, both stacked. Depth is tremendous. They're both in great form. Subiaco bounced back in a big way. West Perth looking the goods at 2-0. I reckon that's the game I reckon everybody's going to be at.
And the surface looks pretty good at Sullivan Logistics Stadium. I know they've
better.
Copped some criticism in the past, but it looks primed to go.
Absolutely. It's ready to go, and conditions are going to be very kind. Once again, ideal conditions. Slightly warmer out there, but all in all, perfect Saturday for footy, and of course on Sunday as well for the morning match between the Eagles and East Fremantle. Ethan, great work as always, mate. Another big weekend of football coming up, and what a round to talk about once the action completed.
Yep, see you next week, mate.
See you, Ethan. All the very best. And listeners, we look forward to your company next week for a review of round 3 and looking ahead as well to a condensed round of football next week. Round 4, only 2 matches will be played in round 4. But we'll see you at the footy, whether you're at Mandurah, Fremantle, Leederville or at Lathlane. What a weekend of football it is going to be. You can win big, and you can witness Waffle Wonderland as well. For all your social content, you can check us out on Around the Waffle at Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And also you can catch us on your podcast provider and on YouTube. We'll see you at the footy. We'll see you very soon.